Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dinithi and today I'm gonna wrap up all the books I read in September. So I read 8 books this month. That is twice my normal amount. I think this is what happens when you do a magical readathon buddy read with a friend who reads at the speed of light, aka Inosh, who reads books that has 14,000 pages. Okay, you heard that right. It's pages. 14,000 pages, not words. So me, Aisha, and Inosh, we all participated in the magical readathon hosted by G over at Book Roast, and we all decided to just buddy read all 7 books that we had to. And yeah, I have like separate reading vlogs for that, so I'm not gonna get into that, but basically because of that I managed to read 8 books. The prompts were only 7, but I managed to read 8. Don't know how that happened, but yeah. So there's a lot to cover, so let's just get into the video. So the first one I read is the entire Device Trilogy by S.A. Chakrabarti. The first book is City of Brass, second one is Kingdom of Copper, and the third one is Empire of Gold. Those 2 books are still on the way to me. I still haven't gotten them, but yeah, I have the book. I read all 3. I know most of you watching have seen my vlogs, which I want to say thank you so much, because I know most of the people who have subscribed watch my videos, and I have to tell you, it's such a wonderful feeling to know that I'm not just taking up space on your subscription boxes, so I'm grateful, thank you. But yeah, you have seen me go through an emotional roller coaster with these vlogs, and there's nothing more to say about the Device Trilogy that I haven't already said before. I also want to say that I'm going to do a full discussion. I'm currently rereading the entire series because I want to do a big ass video talking about this series, so watch out for that. I fell in love with the story. It's basically about a con artist in Cairo who accidentally summons a jinn, who then tells her that she is a descendant from a very powerful family of devas. It is a well-crafted and well-executed series, and I have to say I'm very happy to see the ripple effect of our obsession with this book, what it has done in the community, in like the Sri Lankan book community, because I see so many people picking this book up and actually loving it. So I have to say it feels really good, and I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying it because it deserves all the hype. So pick this up, it's great. It's one of my favorite series of all time, and Dara is a character that it's a character standard in itself, and I will hold every other character that I read to that because he is so well written. Because Dara is a character that was written in such a good way, because I love to read characters that are so complicated and so flawed, with so much baggage and darkness inside them that it makes you doubt your affection for them. It makes you doubt your morals and what you're feeling and all of that towards these characters. So I love to read characters that make me think. So this in no way reflect my real life relationships, okay? Because in real life, for me, the less complicated the better, and the longer they last. So anyway, read this book, it is great. The entire series is 5 stars all around for me. I loved it. Next up, I read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is a sci-fi new release, and it is written by the same author who wrote The Martian, and Martian is definitely one of my all-time favorite books. I loved everything about it. I enjoyed it. I loved the movie as well, so picking this up, I heard wonderful things about it, and it did not disappoint. It's about this astronaut who wakes up in a spaceship with no idea who he is, why he's there, and what happened to him, and then he sees 2 dead bodies next to him, and they've been dead for a while, so he has been in this state for a while, and he has no idea what to do. And just like in The Martian, this is not I don't want to call this a flaw in the book because it wasn't, but with Andy Weir's books, these characters somehow are capable of being alone, and they have the skills and the fortitude to be alone and survive, which is something that I see consistently. Just like coming with The Martian, it's a good thing that Mark Watney happens to be a botanist because that's what he needed to survive. And in this one, yeah, this guy is a microbiologist, and which again comes in very handy when he has to survive in this spaceship, because okay, I can't tell you that part, it's spoilers. So what I liked about this book is how the writer took real life scientific theories and turned them into a reality. Like there are specific things that I know that even Stephen Hawking has theories about it, like with life on other planets and what those life forms might be, and they might not exactly be what we think or what we expect. So I really like reading those stuff, and to read something that is very similar to what he has said in this book and make it a reality, it's actually like really fun to read those stuff, and I really enjoy it personally. So I think that's why I enjoyed it maybe more than other people. The story itself is really great. I think you would have to know you would have to have some sort of a scientific knowledge about, like, you don't have to know formulas or any of that, you can just skip them, it doesn't matter. Because one thing I noticed is that whenever they talk about these complex mathematics and these theories and stuff, the writer always gives you that last line is an explanation it's an explanation to every man. So like you can read that part and understand what the heck you just read a few lines before. So that is not a problem, but you have to have some sort of either a scientific curiosity or an interest in the sciences to enjoy this book, because it's very heavily focused on that, and as it should be, because this is not science. This is science fiction, but it's not so far-fetched, right? It's not DC level of science fiction. So yeah, I hope that made sense. And of course the classic Andy Weir humor is there, the dry sarcastic humor, which I love, and it makes everything so much better and so much calm and fun to read, because again, these are survival stories and you're always tense, and you have to like the main character to enjoy your story like this. And he's basically the only person for like the first half of the book that we interact with. So yeah, he's very likable, I really like him. And then of course, like after the second half of the book, there's something happens and it just gets 100 times better, and I can't, it's a major spoiler, so I'm not gonna say it, but if you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. And I really liked that particular part of the book and how everything just unraveled from there. And I have to say, if you can, you should read the book as well as the audiobook. I know the reading experience will be great, but like I said, that second half of the book is better as an audiobook, because there's something that you have to just skip over if you don't have the audiobook, because they are musical notes, that's all I will say. So you can't exactly hear them in your head. Even in the book, it's just musical notes. So anyway, like trust me, I think I would recommend you listen to the audiobook. But yeah, if you can't, just read the book, it's still great. And I enjoyed it more as the audiobook because it was immersive and it gave me a more expansive experience, I guess. So then I read Bunny by Mona Awad. So I gave this book, so for Project Hail Mary I gave it 5 out of 5. For Bunny I gave this a 2 out of 5, and I've been trying to think of a way to explain this book to people, because it's weird, because when I try to explain it, when I tell my thoughts and why I didn't like the book, I'm involuntarily making people want to read it because of how absurd it is. This book is absurd. This book is not written in the way that we are used to, and as people who enjoy reading books and stories in a certain linear way, we can't enjoy, like I personally didn't enjoy this book because it wasn't written like that. It's full of metaphors and a satire, and there's no plot. It's a combination of different scenes that is so disturbing. There's just no way to know whether they are real or if they're inside the character's head, because she's constantly taking these pills that makes her hallucinate, so there's just no way to know what is real and what's not. And it honestly reads like a big middle finger to these elite universities, all the wealthy people that get to go there, which is nothing wrong with that, the story itself, but I just feel like if that's the point you wanted to make, you could have done it in a better way. So it's not for me. The story is basically about this girl who goes to this elite school that has this program that only take a few students every year, and it's all people of the elite class, and she's the only person in that course that came from a scholarship. The rest are these 4 or 5 girls who call each other Bunny, and I know people call it like a Mean Girls vibe. It honestly didn't feel like that to me, because Mean Girls is more fun, and this is just too. This is it's more like if Mean Girls were, I don't know, just high all the time and loved English literature. I think that this would be something like that. That's the best comparison I can give you. And there's quite a lot of hints to the misogyny and this unparalleled toxic masculinity that is rewarded to people with no substance, and how screwed up the education, like the university education is. Like, all of that I get, and I understand what you're trying to do. But again, like I said before, I don't think the writer has to go this far and to this absurdity to make her point. But there are people who enjoy this book, so maybe it works. You might pick this book up just from what I've said now. Maybe if it's interesting to you, pick it up, try it and see. But it was enough for me. Next one I read is Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney. This is one of my all-time favorite thrillers. I give it 5 out of 5. It takes the word suspenseful to a whole new level. It's about this couple who wins a trip for a weekend getaway in a remote countryside. It's like a chapel that's been turned into an inn, and the idea, like, they both have a specific plan or for this weekend. Like, their marriage is at the end of its journey. Like, they hate each other, they really don't want to be around each other, but they're hoping that this weekend can turn things around and then they can reconnect. But things, of course, don't go as planned, and these people have really dark intentions for this weekend. And because you read from the two perspectives, you read from the husband and the wife, you are in their head, so you know what they plan to do. And at one point the wife admits that her plan involves only one of them leaving this chapel. So from there on, and then of course you shift to the husband's perspective, and then he admits that, I think my wife wants to kill me. So, and then of course also you read these letters that the wife has written to the husband throughout their marriage, and again there's a good background, or like a good flashback into what it used to be and what it is now. I love to read thrillers where it's set in one place and only like few characters, because I know it's hard to do, because it's either like a great thriller or it's a really boring one. There's no middle ground for those kind of stories, and she managed to keep me on my toes and keep the page turning. At one point I legit had goosebumps, because you don't need like stalkers or mysterious strangers or these weird people or like side characters to elevate the story and make it suspenseful, because these characters and their personalities do it for us. And also the husband has something called face blindness. He can't recognize faces, and that includes his wife, and that also affects their marriage, and it affects the overarching plot. So that was something really interesting to read. And it also has one of the best plot twists that I have read. It's one of those twists that's in your face, but you never see it coming because you don't know the whole story. It's like there's a veil in front of you, but once it's lifted at the end, you go back and read the book and you're like, it was right there, it was in front of me. Their conversations sound different now because you know what their intentions were. It was a wild ride, and I loved everything that happened in this book. There was just nothing. I don't have any complaints. So I highly recommend you pick it up if you ever want a good thriller. I really hope they adapt it into a movie, because that would be really fun. And also the audiobook is narrated by Richard Armitage and Stephanie Racine. Oh my god. That's a different conversation in itself. Like, Richard Armitage's narrations are, yeah, that's another level. Anyway, the next one I read is Loveless by Alice Oseman. This I gave 3 out of 5 stars. It is not her best work, I have to say. I loved Heartstopper and I gave that 5 out of 5. It's one of the best YA I have ever read, and Then I read Radio Silence after I read Loveless, which I will include in my October wrap-up, and that was a wild ride. It was a beautiful, beautiful book about young adults and teenagers and all the feelings and the love and friendship and education, all of it was so well written. This is Radio Silence, okay, and that was 5 out of 5. But Loveless really didn't do it for me. It felt more like a guide to finding yourself, discovering your identity, which is all great, and I think those books are important. But one of the things I didn't agree with the book is that how it felt like once you discover yourself or you discover your identity and what you want, your life will be instantly better and life gets easier, and that is not something, and that's not true, and it's not as simple as that. So it felt very simple, like things that the character was going through felt like it had a really easy answer at the end, and like a very gift wrapped resolution, which is something that I didn't agree with, and I couldn't connect to the characters at all, and the side characters were definitely one-dimensional and was only there for the main character. There was nothing else. And the main character herself is kind of felt like a plot device. So yeah, it wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't really like it, but that's not the only Alice Oseman book I've read, so I'm glad that 2 out of the 3 books that I've read of hers are good. So I'm going to keep reading more of her because I really like her writing and I like her stories, and I especially like her characters, like the ones in Radio Silence and Heartstopper. And the final book I read is His and Hers by Alice Feeney. This is my second Alice Feeney for this video. I read 2 of her books, and I'll probably read more of her previous work, but this was a 4 out of 5. I do think you can pick it up and still enjoy it, but if you're gonna go for Alice Feeney, just pick Rock, Paper, Scissors. That is the book you have to read if you want Alice Feeney or if you want a thriller or anything. But His and Hers was also good. It was also narrated by Richard Armitage and Stephanie Racine, so they did a phenomenal job as always. It's about a small town murder that takes place, and the 2 characters who used to be married and they are separated now. The wife goes to London. I think she's a news presenter, so she is tasked with going back to the place she was from, which is where the murder takes place, to cover the story. And then you have a detective who is the husband, and he's the one investigating. And there's like a big secret that happens. You get like flashbacks from the wife and her life as a child, and that is directly related to the murders happening now. So it's nice. I liked the story. It was fun, and at one point it got really dark towards the end and it actually made me physically scared, which never happens in a book. I don't think I've ever been scared by reading a book, but I was scared reading this one. So everything was like going really well, and it was definitely a 5-star for me, especially because of the chemistry between the husband and the wife. Even though they're separated, it's good. It's really great and I like it. So I think the narrators did most of the work in terms of the chemistry. But anyway, so towards the end, the final reveal of like this big twist and the killer, all of that felt very disappointing. I didn't like it at all. It could have made so much sense if it was another character, which I can't say, but the whole thing was leading up to us thinking that it has to be this person because that's the only way it makes sense because of what they have gone through, and it turns out it's not them and it's somebody else that we barely got to see or like barely interested in. There was nothing to them. So that's sort of ending I don't really like, because it really didn't make sense for this whole book to say like tell this story and then have the killer be this person. It was 4 stars because I really enjoyed the entire book except for the ending. So it's a solid grade, so you can pick it up and then still enjoy the story. So that's it for this video. I hope you got some good recommendations. These are the books I read in September. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.